I've just arrived at Wansbeck General Hospital. I'm here for my very first counselling appointment with them. I'll just give a brief bit of background. I've been off work since January, and it's now the end of April. I've been waiting quite a while for this appointment, and I'm nervous. I'm optimistic still, but I am nervous because it's been a long, frustrating wait, and I want to get back to work. And when I go back, I want to be able to stay back. And I just wanted to record something here to talk about mental health, because often we don't. And there's many misunderstandings around mental health, and culturally, certainly in this country, it's not something that we really understand. Thankfully, it's not something that everybody experiences, but also it's something that a lot more people than you realise experience. I should mention, in fact I will mention, that since January I've been medicated to help combat depression, stress, anxiety, brought on by life, but certainly in the last couple of years brought on by work. There's a lot more to it than that, which I'm not going to go into right now. I'm hopefully going to go and speak about a lot more of it in there, and the work stuff as well. But I particularly want to talk about male mental health, and not because I think women have it any easier. They really don't. But in our culture, there is, I would say, probably even less understanding around male mental health, particularly among males, than there is female mental health. And as a male, I can speak to that. I'm not a female, and I can't speak to that. I'm close to some people, some females who've struggled with their mental health, and it's just as much of a struggle, and it's just as hard to understand. But culturally speaking, and I don't want to get too politically bogged down here with the Tory government killing the NHS and all the rest of it. I don't want to get into that, not right now at least. But what I do want to say is that culturally we're not in a good place when it comes to male mental health. We're not in a good place when it comes to mental health in general. But there are certain things, certain phrases, certain ways of thinking that are out there. I'll give you two examples. One of them is the phrase man up. Okay, man up. And what does man up mean? Man up means, essentially, it means, be a man. And what do we mean by be a man? We basically mean stop moaning, stop complaining, stop talking, stop expressing yourself, and just get on with whatever it is you need to do. Yeah, I did that for 5 years. I've been trying to do that, and it hasn't gotten me anywhere. I'm worse now than I was 5 years ago when I was just trying to put up. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all. The very essence of man up is ridiculous. And you hear, this is something that is said to women as well. Women having a hard time. I've heard women say about themselves, I'm having a really hard day today, I'm feeling awful, emotionally I'm all over the place, but I've got this thing to do. I'll just have to man up and get on with it. And that's great if you can. If you are in a place where you are mentally stable enough to be able to set aside whatever worries, whatever lingering doubts, whatever life has thrown at you that day, that month, that week, if you are in a place where you're strong enough mentally to set that aside and get on with your day, fantastic. And if that is the priority, if what needs doing trumps dealing with what's happening to you emotionally, then fine, go and do that. No one's saying that you can't set stuff aside to get on with life. If you are in a place where mentally you can cope with that, you can do that. But what about if you can't? What about if no matter how many people tell you to man up, no matter how big the responsibility is, no matter how important situation A might be that you want to be able to go and do, you cannot make your body move. You cannot make your mind work. You can't process thoughts enough to speak properly. All of those things are what I found myself experiencing and have continued to experience at different times. Often not the most convenient time, but just yesterday, trying to pick up my children from school. A friend of mine just happened to say to me, "Are you okay?" And it was, well, probably in moments before that, but certainly solidified when I was asked that question. And I couldn't say no, but she could see no. She could see you are not okay right now. And just as luck would have it, she's just a wonderful person and was able to take over that situation in absolutely the best way possible. She was able to get me to a place where I could feel safer and away from all the people and the stress and everything I couldn't manage in that moment. She found a location that she knew. She's like, you go here because it is safe, it is secluded, and I know where it is. Your children know me, trust me, the school knows me, trusts me, and they know enough about what's going on that I can pick your children up and I can bring them to you. And that's exactly what happened. But that was just luck. That was just luck in the moment and a wonderful person giving of her time. That could have been a lot worse, and that terrifies me. Now, someone out there might be watching something or thinking about mental health and think that that's a choice that I've made in that moment. Oh, I don't feel like picking up my children right now. That's just nonsense. And if you've got children yourself, you will know that is nonsense. I couldn't cope. I would have desperately tried to find a way, but in that moment, someone else said, "Look, I can take over this situation. You need help. Here is help." And I, thankfully at this point, I'm wise enough to have taken that help. And that's the other thing I want to speak about. Getting that help. Get that help. If you have been in a situation where you're struggling with your mental health, if you are in the future, if maybe you think you are right now, don't wait. Don't man up. Don't think that you can just tough it out. Get the help, because believe me, it's only going to get worse. If you're having a bad day and there's the job that needs doing and you can set aside the bad day to do the job that needs doing, that's fine. That's not a mental health problem. There is a massive difference. A massive difference, and it's important that we talk about this and that people understand. People need to know that mental health, depression, anxiety, stress, these are not small things. These are not, "I feel a bit sad today." There's a huge, huge difference. I was reading online yesterday. I don't know why. I don't know what got me to this. But it just occurred to me that there is a phrase, nervous breakdown. And I remember that as a child. Oh, he had a nervous breakdown. She had a nervous breakdown. And I thought, God, you don't hear that anymore. And I suppose for a moment, I thought maybe they just don't happen anymore. Maybe they just, I don't know, maybe we're in a different world now where people get to avoid this horrendous thing. I didn't really know what it was. And then I started reading about nervous breakdowns, and we don't have them anymore because they don't get called that anymore. They're not called a nervous breakdown. There's debates on both sides of whether or not the term is helpful. But basically, it's just a phrase that used to get called. It was a kind of a catch-all phrase that they used to capture something in mental health. And basically, what it is, a nervous breakdown was or is, however you want to look at it, not terminology that's used anymore, but what it was at the time when it was used when I was a child, and the term was bandied around a bit more frequently. It is when someone, due to stress, anxiety, depression, cannot function in their normal role. And this is someone who has previously normally been absolutely healthy, fine, functioning great, and then something goes wrong in their, their nerves, their nervous system gets the better of them, and they crash, they burn, and they cannot cope. So a previously healthy person has a period of time when they cannot function as a normal everyday human being due to stress, depression, and anxiety. So I'm reading this and discovering that, yeah, this is a term that isn't used anymore, but if it was, that's what I've had. I'm living through a nervous breakdown. And that was a terrifying thought to me. Not because I didn't know what I was going through, but because this big scary thing that I thought of as a child, actually when I found out about it, it was like, shh, I'm living that now. And that kind of brought it home to me, just how little understanding there is of these phrases and these things that we say, and how we don't talk enough about mental health. I said there were two phrases that I wanted to talk about. The first one being man up. The other one, I suppose, similarly unhelpful one, it's just completely gone from my mind right now. So I'll maybe come back to that one at a separate time. But yeah, it's just this idea that you can just set things aside, and that everything will be okay. And I tried to do that. I tried, and for a long time I did. I spoke to a colleague recently who I'd worked with prior to January, and she said that from her perspective, I was the one holding everything together at the particular area in which I was working, and was really surprised to hear how much I was struggling. And there's only one reason that she was surprised, and that's that I didn't talk about it. And I guess that's what needs to change. I'm gonna stop recording now because I've got to go into this appointment, find out where I need to be, who I need to speak to, and if I'm able to, I'm gonna make another video just after the appointment when I've gone, and hopefully I've done the smart thing and I've started talking.